Hi, this is Tom Scarda. I'm a certified franchise executive, and I match people with franchise opportunities based on skills and personality, kind of like the eHarmony of business. I'm here today to talk about the four quadrants of franchising. I have to tell you, when I started looking at franchising, I was overwhelmed. I was a government worker, wanted to change my direction, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a business owner, but I didn't know how. I figured out that franchising is a business with training wheels, and that was for me. Started looking around, saw thousands of franchises in all sorts of industries, and was just overwhelmed and confused. I mean, Finally, I went through the process that I take people through now, and I bought a smoothie franchise, and I built that franchise into 3 locations, and I was blessed enough to be able to sell it within 4.5 years. I semi-retired at 41 years old, and now I help people do the same thing. I don't say that to impress you, but I say that to impress upon you. I was just a government worker, and I did it. I was successful. If I could do it, you can do it too. To help you really understand the whole scope of franchising here, just real quickly, is this 4 quadrants of franchising. Every franchise in America, you'll see at the end of this, will fall into one of these 4 boxes. And this will be really interesting, and it'll help you to easily understand the whole scope of everything out there. So the first quadrant I want to talk about is simple retail. Now, simple retail is probably the most common thing that people think about when they start looking for franchises. A simple retail is in a store, right? So once you're in a store, your investment will start at about $150,000, and it could go up to $500,000 just to get your doors open and be able to operate for the first year and keep your head above water. These things are usually located in a strip mall or a regional mall or on Main Street, anywhere you can lease a commercial piece of property. And I wanted to say that also in this 150 to 500 range, typically food will start at about 200, 250 and go north from there. Just a note. In a retail operation, of course, your hours are retail, so you're going to be open somewhere like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and probably 7 days a week. And of course, it might vary depending on what the business is. You'll have 3 to 10 staff members working for you. It's a simple operation. It's not very difficult. There's not a lot of moving parts, and it's something that a lot of people kind of lean toward because it is an easier operation. It'll take you 1 to 6 months to get that business up and running. So what I mean by that is it'll take you 1 to 3 months just to find the right location, right? It's location, location, location. So you and the franchisor will make sure it's the absolute right location. It'll take an additional 1 to 3 months, or maybe even a little bit longer, to do interior construction. So for all intents and purposes, you might spend about $200,000 as the initial investment, and it might be upwards of 6 months or maybe even 9 months before you see your first customer in the door. You have to be prepared for that, and that's where your working capital comes in. That's important. The second quadrant I want to talk about is complex retail. And this is something that we all visit on a regular basis. I know I do. These are basically sit-down restaurants for the most part. QSRs, they call it, quick service restaurants. And the investment here usually starts about $500,000, and it'll go upwards of $2 million. A lot of times you're actually buying the property and building from the foundation up. You'll find these things in lifestyle centers, which are the cool, new-looking outdoor malls you'll find around the country. They're also kind of standalone, maybe in the corner of the parking lot kind of situation. These businesses, again, they're open 10 a.m. to midnight, sometimes 24 hours. Got to get your tacos, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I guess. They're open. You'll have somewhere between at least 10, but more likely 50 or 60 people working for you in a unit like that. And it'll take you 12 to 24 months to be open. The reason for that is, like I said, you might be buying the property. A lot of real estate, a lot of permits, and all sorts of stuff that has to get done to open up a business like that. And also, a lot of times they sell them in multiples. You have to buy 3 or 5 or 10, depending on the franchise. What I'd like to get into next is service to consumer or service to customer. Service to customer business is really interesting. It's something that most people never think about when they think about franchising. A service to consumer business will start at about 60,000 and it'll go up to about 150,000, and that's again your franchise fee, everything included, including typically 1 year of working capital. These are located in a home office. You might be in an executive office. You might be in a warehouse with an office. Again, depends on what the concept is. Your hours are typically like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. You might be opened on a Saturday. Caveat here, though, I want you to know, is you also might have someone on staff 24/7. It might be an emergency response type situation where your service is actually providing, I don't know, sewer backup. So you might be called out at weird hours to do that business, and typically somebody will have a cell phone and answer the call. In this kind of business, you'll have anywhere from no staff members all the way up to about 10, and it varies. These are just general characteristics. You could be open in 4 to 8 weeks after you decide what franchise is for you. And the way that looks like really is you go through the process. That takes 4 weeks or so, and then you choose your franchise, you sign your franchise agreement, and you go out to corporate headquarters for training. While you're at training, what they want to do is flood your market or your service area with whatever marketing they deem is the right thing for that business. And the goal is to have your phone ringing on Monday morning when you get home. And because of that, this kind of business is very nimble, very quick to cash flow, and they break even a lot quicker than something that's in a retail store that's a lot more overhead. In these service businesses, a lot of times you have limited overhead, and very limited and sometimes no inventory at all. So it makes it an interesting thing to think about because it's really much easier to operate, and you're not tied to a rent and all the utilities and everything that goes with a brick and mortar type setup. Service to business is almost identical to service to consumer. There's a couple of little different things that I would point out. The investment starts at 60,000 and it goes up to about 100,000, again depending on the business and the type of territory that you might invest in. You'll be located in a home office or an executive office. Your hours are really the big difference, I think. Your hours in a service to business is really 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. No nights, no weekends, no holidays. You're dealing with other business owners during the day. That's kind of appetizing for a lot of people, so it's something to really think about. A lot of times you might have repeat business and something like that, so it's really something pretty cool, not to mention inexpensive in the scope of things in franchising. And you'll have 0 to 10 staff members working for you. It's usually closer to 3 or 4, depending on what it is. And it'll take you, again, about 4 to 8 weeks to get open. So there's a lot of different things you could get into. But if you look at this, from this 30,000 foot view, you'll see that every franchise in America will fall into one of these 4 boxes. Some of them are hybrids. They might fall into more than one box. You can have a service business that is in a retail, like personal services. You can have something that is both service to consumer and service to business. And you might do a little bit of both. So there's all different opportunities out there. And the best thing to do is really consider what you want to be doing day in and day out. There's really 4 different ways you could be involved in any business, any franchise business, that is. One is you could be a single unit operator. So that means you own 1 unit. You could be a multi-unit operator, obviously, 2 units or more. You could be a semi-absentee business owner, which means that it's manager run. You can actually have another business or a job and build this on the side. And that is appetizing for a lot of people these days. In addition to that, you can also be a master franchisee, or what they call an area developer. That means you buy a territory for a specific brand and then you become a microcosm of that franchise. So your job is really to sell franchises and then help people be successful in that franchise. So that becomes very, very interesting because your customer base is not the public, but it's your local franchisees. So that could be fun. Moreover, it's residual income. You're paying a lot of money to buy the territory. However, you're going to get paid half of the franchise fee typically and half of royalties every month from every franchisee in your territory. So that's something to consider. These are very hard to come by, and they really scrutinize who they're going to award these type of franchises to. So be careful with that, but definitely something to consider if you have the wherewithal to do it. If you really want to get deep into this kind of stuff, feel free to give me a call. My number's below. Feel free to reach out. Email is great. And again, my name is Tom Scarta, and I match people with franchise opportunities. I'd love to hear from you.